Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Walls from CloudShark, and I am here with Tom Peterson. And today we're going to be going over an exercise in identifying, analyzing, and reporting malware incidents using packet captures. So why are we talking about packet captures when it comes to malware analysis? Well, if you're using some kind of intrusion detection system and it flags an alert, or and it generates some kind of indicators as to something that happened, there might already be some information about what sorts of things has happened. But in order for you to get to the detail, pcaps are great because they actually contain the complete network trace of a malicious event. And there's many IDS systems that will automatically generate packet captures as part of the alert process. But they're really great for finding out who, what, when, and how. And CloudShark actually makes that really easy with our threat assessment system. It makes it easy to go back in time and see if such things have happened before by using deep search. So we're going to look at how to use that too. But what we really want to do when we're doing an exercise like this is go through and use a packet capture to build indicators of compromise that let us find, that let us analyze the who, what, where, and why, build a report for the rest of our team or for the rest of the organization so that they can see what happened and have a record of it. And like I said, go back in time and make sure that this sort of thing hasn't happened in the past. So that's what Tom is going to show you how to do. And we're going to do that with a malware traffic analysis.net exercise. If you've never gone to that website, it's really great. They're pretty dedicated to making everyone informed about how malware works and what to look for. And they have a set of exercises there that let you practice how to look for malware, and they're actually really fun, and we like doing them. It keeps our skills up and polished, and it lets us kind of learn more with this hands-on experience. So we're going to basically go through and say, given a set of alerts that you've received and a PCAP, can we determine what happened and create a meaningful report? And we're going to go through and use the exercise from malwaretrafficanalysis.net and use CloudShark and see if we can solve that. So now I'll hand things over to Tom.
Hi, so hi everybody. My name's Tom. I work here at CloudShark with Jason. So like you described, we're going to go through one of these examples from malwaretrafficanalysis.net. So I have the website up here. Like Jason mentioned, there are tons of traffic analysis exercises that have been published on this website. So typically, these all contain a capture file and a set of alerts that you would see from something like an IDS, and instructions on what to look for. So here's the example we're going to be going through today. It's called Little Tigers. They usually do have funny names. So we've got a zip containing the PCAP, a zip containing the alerts. And if we go down, we've got a scenario. So in all of these is going to tell you what the local area network is. So you've got a little information about the network itself. And then we've got a task here. So the task is to create an executive summary. So basically just a short description of what happened for this incident. A little bit of this is already filled in. We have the date here. We're going to go through and get some information about which Windows host was infected. We're going to write a short description of what it was infected with and maybe how this happened. And we're going to write some indicators of compromise. So this is just a list of some of the bad things we see in this capture. So a list of URLs that might be delivering malware, malicious domains, IP addresses, and hashes relating to files that maybe cause this infection. So we'll start with the list of alerts that we've gotten maybe from our IDS, IPS. So here's a screenshot of these here. So just taking a quick look, we remember our local area network was 10.0.90. So we can see here, this first alert, we've got an exe downloaded over HTTP. We've also got an executable downloaded from just an IP address as the host name. possible malicious macros downloading in exe. So we've definitely got something going on here. Another file downloaded over HTTP, and then we can see some more alerts, something called a Remco's rat check-in, more exe downloads. So this list of alerts definitely shows that something bad is probably happening in this capture. But let's take a look at the packet capture itself, so that we can verify what we're seeing, see if these alerts are false positives, or what's going on. So we're gonna open up CloudShark, and we'll upload this capture file. So we've got this example here. Once that uploads, we can open this up. And the first thing I'm going to do here is just add some tags to this file. So in CloudShark, you can tag capture files. So we're going to tag this with our malware webinar from May 2019. So this will just let us search for this later, easily find it. We've got a description of kind of what this capture is about. So going back to these alerts, we can open up threat assessment now. And what this is going to do is this is going to take the PCAP and run it through a tool called Suricata, which contains a list of signatures, very similar to the alerts that we just saw. These alerts come from the emerging threats rule set provided by Proofpoint. So when we open this up, what we can see is a list of endpoints up at the top that have alerts or threats associated with them that we've found in this PCAP. Going down, we can see the actual threats themselves. So here we can see, if we remember, our local area network was 10.090. We can start with this host here, 215, and just start looking at these threats. So this first one is a DNS update from the external network. So we can actually open this up and get a little more information about the source and destination. These are both on the local network here. And if we actually go back and look at that example, let's see, we can look back at this LAN segment data. So we can see that 10.099 is actually the domain controller. So this is this local host updating DNS on its local network. So this really isn't much of a threat for us. So what we can actually do is take this and drag this off, so we can remove it from that list of potential threats that we're looking at. And now going down, we can see we've got this local host here triggering all sorts of threats in threat assessment. So we're going to come back and look at threat assessment and dive deeper into these threats. But first, we're just going to collect a little more information about this host here that seems to be infected. So we're going to go and copy our executive summary template here. And we can go back to the capture file. And we've got a spot here for comments on this capture file. So we're going to start this and just paste this in here. So some of the information we need to know is who's using this machine, what Windows host it actually was. We'll collect some information about the IP address and the MAC address. And I'll show you how to start that. So let's go back to threat assessment. We can see this host here is the one that seems to be infected. So we'll copy this and go to our capture file, and let's just look at traffic associated with that IP address. So we'll create a filter expression where we're filtering on any traffic with that IP address. We'll apply this. And now we can see some of the traffic being sent to or from this device. So since we've got the IP address, we can just copy this. We can paste this right into our report. We can find the MAC address associated with this IP address. We've got the source IP address of this packet. matching our infected host. So we can simply look at the source MAC address and copy this. And we'll add this to our executive summary. And next we need to find the host name and the Windows user account name. So since we know this is a Windows machine, Windows machines typically use a protocol called Kerberos to authenticate users and machines against that domain controller. So let's go back here and we'll keep this IP address in here. But let's look at traffic to and from this IP address. That is Kerberos traffic. Ooh. There we go. So what we have here is all the Kerberos traffic sent to and from this machine. We're actually going to add a little more to this filter. There's a field in Kerberos, the CNAME string. So what we've done here is we're filtering on traffic matching that has this field in it. So in Kerberos, this field typically matches the machine name or the user account that Windows is using. And what you can see we've done here, we've copied this. And in our profile, we can actually add custom columns here. So here we've got a new column for CNAME. And the CNAME is that Kerberos CNAME string. So by adding this to our view for right now, put that next to the server name, we can save this. And now we can just very easily see, okay, this machine is using a CNAME of Bobby Tiger PC. And scrolling down, we can also see Bobby Tiger, which is most likely the username. So we can copy this information into our executive report. And the reason why you do something like this is, once we've kind of determined what's going on, we need to remedy the situation. So if we've found that this person's machine is infected, we've got to go track it down. I lost my comments there. All right, sorry about that. Let me just copy these back in here. All right, so we've still got the IP address. So we need to track this user down and this machine, probably reformat it if it was infected with malware. This user might have to take some sort of an extra class or something, depending on how the machine was infected. So we've got, again, the host name right here, Bobby Tiger's PC, and the username, Bobby Tiger. All right, so now that we've done a little bit of this work to pin down which host we're actually looking at, let's save that. Now we can kind of dig into this threat assessment and see what happened. So let's go back to our threat assessment view. So we've got our ladder diagram here. We've already determined that this DNS update is most likely not an issue. So we can drag this off. And going down, let's just take a look at what we see is happening. So we've got possible malicious macro download exe. So if we take a look at this, we can see in the alert here, this is from Bobby Tiger's PC, and we're getting a file called test.exe. And this signature name here makes me think that this is probably a malicious macro from some sort of Word document, where a lot of times you'll get these sent to you as spam, as some sort of phishing or campaign. Usually the document, you open it and it tries to tell you multiple times, do not run macros if you don't know who this document came from. But a lot of users tend to anyways. So we can take a look at that. This is the request for an exe file. And going down, we can actually see this file being downloaded. So So if we open up this threat, this is an exe being downloaded to Bobby Tiger's machine. And let's take a look at this whole stream so we can see kind of a better idea of what's going on using the packet capture. So what this is going to do is go through and look at that whole HTTP stream and show it to us. So here we can see Bobby Tiger's machine doing a GET request for an exe file. Coming back from the server, we've got some information. It's an Apache web server running on CentOS. And right here you can actually see this MZ and this text. This program cannot be run in DOS mode. These are both indicators that this is actually an exe file and some sort of executable that can be run on a Windows machine. So what we're going to do here is to keep track of where we are. We're going to show this stream and we're going to open this in a new tab. And this is going to show us again the full packet capture associated with this alert. So now we can actually look and see all the IP information going back and forth. The server name is also an IP address. Typically this would be the name of the server. So if you were going to google.com, in your GET request, you would include a host of google.com. Having it be an IP address is a little strange. Usually you would have some sort of DNS information there. And what we're going to do is annotate this packet and say this is a GET request for an exe. So we don't know much more than that right now, but just to kind of save our place, we'll add an annotation there. And then we'll keep going back to our threat assessment. And let's see what happened afterwards. So we've downloaded an exe file. We don't see any more threats associated with this endpoint. But we do know an exe was downloaded from it. So again, we're going to drag this off. And the next thing we see is something called a Remco's Rat Check-in 23. So let's take a look at this. Again, we can see the source and destination IP addresses. This is coming from somewhere in Australia. Looking at this payload, it looks like it might be encrypted or there's not much information. Looking at the ASCII, there's no meaningful strings or anything in there. So the next thing that I would do is Google what is this Remco's Rat Check-in. So I'll open a new tab here and we'll do a Google search for Remco's Rat. And we can see just the first hit right here is a hit from Fortinet. Remco's a new rat in the wild. So reading through this, RAT stands for Remote Access Tool, a remote administration tool right there. So this description tells us that Remco's is a remote administration tool. It looks like it's a commercialized remote access tool. We can see that it's being distributed through malicious Office documents. So that kind of goes along with that macro download that we saw earlier. We've got some information on how it bypasses user access control in Windows. This is some of the real nitty-gritty details on how this gets installed on someone's machine after opening a malicious Word document. And we can actually take a look and see some of its capabilities here. So we can see once you've kind of got one of these machines infected, we can go through and look at different connections. You can do some crazy stuff like capturing the screen, opening the person's file manager. Well, it looks like you could turn it off, log all the keys. There's also some automatic tasks here. So typically when some machine is infected with malware like this, it would connect back and phone home to a phone home server that would then send it further instructions to do. So that looks like that might be what's happening here. We've downloaded some exe, and now this machine is checking in with some server running in Australia. Going down, we can just see further Remco's rat check-ins. It's also interesting, it seems to check in every 30, 40 seconds or so. You can see it checking in with this same server just over and over again. probably asking for more instructions or more tasks for it to do. So let's open up one of these so that we can see this destination IP address is checking in with on port 2404. And again, let's go and follow stream here. Let's follow stream. And then from here, we can get a link to all the packets within this stream. So we're going to open that up and we can look and add another annotation again. Say Remco's rat check-in. And what we're going to do is add a link as well to this description. So if we come across this again later, or if someone else is taking a look at our analysis, they can see some of the research that we've already done. So we'll determine this is a Remco's rat check-in. Now we've got this annotation showing what it looks like, and also a link to the research and the analysis that we've already done for this threat. So again, let's go back to threat assessment. So now we've determined that this user probably downloaded a malicious Word document, enabled macros on it, which downloaded a remote administration tool, and now this thing is checking in with some server that we don't know about in Australia. So now that we know that, we'll drag this post off as well. And now we see some more threats. There was somewhere around 400 in this capture. So we've still got a few to go through. Here we've got, this is a medium severity threat, just a terse alphanumeric executable downloader with a high likelihood of being hostile. So if we take a look at this, we can see this is a GET request for, again, another exe. This one's just named f4.exe. I don't know of any programs that are named just f4. Let's keep looking here. So we've got our GET request. Then we've got a download of that tersely named executable. You can see again f4.exe. We scroll down again, we see this MZ, and this program cannot be run in DOS mode, showing that this is an executable that can be run on Windows. This one's from the Netherlands. So let's keep looking here. So this is a drive-by, likely evil exe with no referrer from an HFS web server used by an unknown exploit kit. So now let's take a look at this whole stream. So we've determined it's, really shortly named executable file. It is definitely an executable file. So let's take a look at this stream. So we can again see, MZ, this program cannot be run in DOS mode. So this is a Windows executable. And again, let's just go to the packets for this stream here. And again, we'll add an annotation. So we'll say terse named exe download. And this is for getf4.exe. And we can probably assume that this executable was run. Likely it was one of the automatic tasks from that Remco's rat administration tool. So let's drag this off as well. I don't think we have any more threats associated with that endpoint. So let's see what we see next after downloading that exe. We're seeing these are all the same threat names. So abuse.ch, Ssl Blacklist, Malicious, Ssl certificate detected, Dridex. We see that happening with 3 endpoints here, just over and over again. So again, we'll open this up. Abuse.ch. So if we look at what abuse.ch is, I think I have a bookmark for it here. So this is a website and a tool run by, it says some random Swiss guy fighting malware, not for profit. And we've got this Ssl Blacklist. So looking at what this is one of their projects where they try to detect malicious SSL connections by looking at the SSL certificate being sent and determining if that's used by a known botnet. So again, a command and control server, similar to that Remcos rat administration tool. Command and control server is something where an infected host will phone home to another server run by someone in control of a botnet, and then that host will ask for commands, send information back, all sorts of bad stuff. So this is being flagged because it's using a TLS certificate that's been blacklisted by this abuse.ch project. It's also got Drydex in parentheses here. So let's take a look at what that might be. Again, we'll just do some Googling. It's a pretty simple search, just Drydex malware, first link. You can see this isn't anything new. This is a strain of, huge advertisement there, a strain of banking malware. Again, leveraging macros in Microsoft Office to infect systems. Once a computer has been affected, Drydex attackers can steal banking credentials and other personal information on the system to gain access to the financial records of a user. So this is a pretty bad one. Your bank's one of the last places you probably want whoever's running this malware to have access to. So again, let's follow this stream. You can view the packets just associated with this stream here. And we're going to say this is using a SSL cert to be known associated with the Drydex malware family. And again, we'll add our link to that Google search that we've done so that someone else can go in and take a look at the analysis that we've already done. So going back to our executive summary, we now have a pretty good idea of what happened. I'll open up this advanced analysis again just so we can kind of walk through it. We've got this host here on a local network, Bobby Tiger's PC. It looks like Bobby Tiger somehow got a hold of a malicious Word document with a malicious macro in it that he executed despite Microsoft saying that's probably not a good idea. Some sort of executable was downloaded. Looks like that infected the machine with the Remcos remote administration tool, which is now checking in with another server. Likely one of those automatic tasks was to then download another exe and execute that, which infected the machine with the Drydex malware family, intended to steal his financial information, surprise bank account, maybe his social security, who knows. And now this machine is checking in with 3 different IP addresses, so machines out there on the internet known to be associated with this malware. So now going back, we can look at our executive summary here, and we can fill this information in. So we've got a Windows host used by Bobby Tiger. Tiger was infected with the Remcos rat, which then downloaded Drydex malware intended to steal information. So we've got our executive summary. We've got some details about the Windows host here. We're going to add some indicators of compromise now. So now that we've kind of determined what happened, let's see if we can add some descriptions of how you would search for this or see if this happened elsewhere. So let me just clean up some of my tabs here at the top. And since we've added all these annotations where we kind of found indicators of compromise, we can just go through these, and let's open each one in a new tab. And so here we've got, this was our GET request for an EXE. We've got the destination IP address that it went out to. So we're going to add that as part of our indicator of compromise. So we've got this host on port 80. So you can go back and see. I downloaded this over HTTP on port 80. So we'll add that as our indicator of compromise. Let's get the file name as well that it downloaded. So downloaded that, and we saw that to look like Remcos rat. Yeah. We're going to take another look at this as well. Let's go in and look at HTTP objects. So since this was transmitted over HTTP, you can see getting test exe right here. In CloudShark, we can open up our HTTP analysis tool for HTTP objects, and we can see this exe test1 being downloaded. That was the host name there. So we can open this up. If this was something like an image or a text file, we would show a preview, but since this is a binary, we're not going to do that. We have the hash up top here. We also have a link to download this. This is malware, so you wouldn't really want to download this on your machine. Windows Defender, I think, might block that from actually even being downloaded. But we've got this hash here, and what we can do is copy this. And there's another tool out there on the web called Virustotal. And what this will do is you can upload a file, or you can upload a hash. And what this does is it runs any uploaded files through a whole bunch of virus detection tools. So you can see tons up here, some from ClamAV. We've got Microsoft itself, McAfee, and just uploading this SHA-1 hash. So someone else has already uploaded this file before. 40 engines detected this file. So this is definitely looking like this was the malware. Sometimes we've got some short names in here. We can also see some additional details. So you can look and see all the different hashes, what sort of file it was. This was a Windows executable. We can see when it first, was submitted to Virustotal. There's a bunch more information here, but we're just going to copy this link here. And again, we can add this to our annotation. So now we've got the results from Virustotal indicating that this is malicious. Let me go back here. Let's save where we are so far. We can reload these annotations, and now again we have a link directly to the Virustotal results. So anyone else looking at this can see kind of what information we're using to back up our claim that this was a malicious download. So we've got our next indicator of compromise is this Remco's rat check-in. So again, let's open this packet up in a new window. So again, here we can see the Google searching, the research that we've already done. We can link to that. We're going to copy this destination here. So we can add another indicator of compromise. I think this was on port, we go 2404. So we can add that to our report. And this is Remco's rat check-in. And again, just going down the list, again, we've got that tersely named exe download that now we think is associated with the Drydex malware family. So again, we're going to copy our destination. and that was named get f4.exe. I think this is Dridex. Once again, we're going to go get these SHA-1 hashes and add them and look them up on Virustotal just to kind of back up our claims here. So here we've got the SHA-1 hash of f4.exe. And let's pop that over to Virustotal. And it looks like Virustotal agrees. This is definitely some sort of malware. So we can see some of them are flagging it as Cridex, which I think if we look back at that link, we can actually see that that was the kind of precursor to this malware. So let's go back here. We'll add a link into our annotation so we can just get to those Virustotal results easier. I'm not going to go through every single one of those Dridex check-in alerts that we saw, but we'll add the first one here anyways. So we've got our destination, port 3389. So we've got the address, port 3389. This was associated with a Dridex SSL cert. And now we've got our executive summary. Going through this example, we can see that Bobby Tiger probably, again, downloaded some exe file that he shouldn't have. That checked in with some sort of server that's now in control of the machine, which instructed it to download Dridex malware. And who knows what that sent back and forth, but if I was Bobby Tiger, I'd probably call my bank up and maybe ask for any suspicious activity. He's going to have to reformat his machine, obviously. And maybe we can set up some sort of class about how not to open macros from unknown malicious Word documents. So now we've gone through this exercise, determined what happened, written a brief executive summary. So this incident is closed, essentially. But looking back, it might be interesting to just take another look at some captures we've done recently. So here we're going back to this capture list. So here's the one we just analyzed up here. So we've got this tagged with our malware webinar, May 2019. I'm going to go back in here and add a couple tags. So we saw the Remcos rat in this capture. We also saw Dridex. Banking malware. So I'm going to save those changes. So now we can see those associated here as well. And maybe we could take a look and see if we've ever seen anything like this before. So we could look for Remcos rat. So here we've got a search bar which just filters on this index. So I'm looking at anything tagged with, this malware webinar, May 2019, and also the Remcos rat. If I do a search here, we can actually see some other examples of this same remote access tool. So if we look at this one here, we can look at our analysis tools and threat assessment. And we can see just some more examples of that same rat check-in. Again, you can see it looks like it's every 40 seconds or so it's checking in. So that kind of matches along with what we just saw in that capture that we just analyzed. We could also search for Dridex and see if that's ever happened before. But since we have those indicators of compromise, I'm going to go back and reset our search. So we're just looking at the ones from this malware webinar. Let's take a look at some of our indicators of compromise that we added to this executive summary. So here we've got the IP address. We'll just start with this one, where we initially downloaded this Remcos rat tool. So let's copy this IP address. And what we're going to do is we're going to run, this is something you can do in CloudShark called deep search. So here we're just going to check off all these capture files. And I want to know if I've ever seen anything from that IP address before. I know we've just downloaded malware from it, but has that ever happened before? So I'm going to select all these captures that I want to look for packets matching that same IP address. So here we're going to just look, hey, has anyone ever contacted that IP address before? So performing a deep search, we're going to search through each of these 16 captures and just look for any packets matching that display filter. So kicking off our search, this is going through each one individually, but we've got 5 results here. So we actually have seen this IP address quite a few times before. So here's the analysis that we just did. We can take a look, and here's another example that kind of matches what we've seen. A Word document pushing the Drydex malware family. So opening this up, we've got that filter expression already kind of predefined in there. So now we're just looking at traffic matching that IP address where we just downloaded malware from. We can see that this has happened before. This is some malware. It's actually being disguised as a JPEG file. Again, with someone already analyzed this pcaps, so we've got a link to Virustotal where we can look up, this is definitely some sort of malware. When 58 out of 71 engines detected, that's a pretty good indicator that something bad's happened. And for this one, we've got a brief executive summary again, where we can actually see Bobby Tiger, he did this before. The different IP address, probably because he had to reformat his computer the last time he did this. But again, we've got that indicator of compromise. Using something like deep search, we can go through and look, has this happened before? Are we seeing the same files being transmitted? All from kind of this repository of captures that we've analyzed, tagged, and written executive summaries for. So we can actually search for that just in the comments. If we keep our executive summaries in there, we can search for something. I think we'd have to spell it right, but if we get Drydex in there and search, let me reset that. Let's see, this is the one we just did. Hopefully I spelled it the same in both summaries there, but copy that and we can actually search through those executive summaries as well. So here you can search for, maybe that SHA-1 hash or just other cases where we've written about this before. We've done this analysis before. Other people can look at this and confirm what we're seeing or add more questions or just to get more examples of what this malware looks like. So having all those examples from malwaretrafficanalysis.net just being uploaded at least once a month, it's a really good way to just kind of stay up to date with what's going on in the malware world. I'd never heard of the Remcos remote access tool before doing this one. Seems really interesting that this was like a commercial tool you could just buy online. If we go back to that link, I don't even think it was all that expensive from what Fortinet had discovered. So $58 to $389. Pretty amazing to be able to buy a tool like that just online. Yeah, I think that's about a wrap for this one.